Hello and welcome to the final stage of the Los Santos Rally. And I thought I would make it night just to add a little bit of variety. We'll have a go at a night stage, not particularly dark though. The opening section of this stage is what I've been using as the sort of background image when I've been looking at the sort of the stage times and all of that kind of thing. And it's an interesting sort of windy path, not particularly narrow, not particularly bumpy, actually not that steep for a downhill section, but the corners are fairly tight. This track was a sort of a deceptively tight, deceptively twisty one. Husky's Bifter was of course going rather quickly, however things would go very wrong. Took the jump a little bit too fast, in fact quite a lot too fast, and slightly in the wrong direction, and ended up stuck in a ditch. Yeah, and a bit of a pain getting out of that place as well. Yeah, the Bifter was actually almost too fast for that section, just took too much speed over the jump. It was the Bodhi that would set the fastest time. It would set equal fastest time for the entire stage, which is mighty impressive. Considering this is an interesting stage. It's a little bit of an odd one, actually. I would have thought this one here would the off-road vehicles would have struggled a little bit more because it is fairly fast. It's not the bumpiest of stages. It's nowhere near as bad as the fourth stage was for the bumps. And yes, the road is, I think it's proper dirt. It's not just sort of dusty tarmac on this one. And I would have expected to see the road car setting a faster time because they can get more straight line speed. However, the Bodhi sets, it was an equal fast time. And since we haven't had like a full watch through of a stage from an off-road car's point of view, I thought we would have a look at the Bodhi. I think at some point Husky set a fastest stage overall as well with the Bifter, but on the most part it had been the road cars up until now. Yeah, it was a little bit of an odd stage, much like the previous stage in the Vinewood Hills where there are a lot of blind corners. This one here also had an awful lot of blind corners that caught a few people out on. Quite a few cars outbraked themselves, ran a little bit wide, especially this corner coming up here. Caught a lot of people out, didn't realise quite how tight it was. You could see the Bodhi ran a little bit wide, got away with it though. There was also part tarmac stage. There was a small little bit of tarmac in between the sections. I was just trying to find kind of dirt roads that I could sort of link together, and yeah, this was the best way I could kind of do it. Yeah, there's a small dirt road section, so cars could get up a little bit of speed, but the Bodhi is never going to be the fastest vehicle in a straight line. But yeah, around here it's still all fairly fast corners on this section. Again, it surprises me that the Bodhi was as quick as the road cars. Yeah, it's very well driven, this one. As we go over the jump, even despite the clattering into the barrier, the Bodhi set a very fast time. I wonder how quick it would have gone without that. And then the final section now, we see down, this is where things get a little bit narrow. There's a bit coming up here that is very nasty through here. You do not want to land through here wrong. It's just about wide enough for a car to fit through. We see on two-wheeled action off that sort of slight hill a few times as well. And there we go. The Bodhi has made it across the line in a very quick time. Husky then promptly managed to break the game. I had no idea what's going on. It does not like having his Bifter stuck underneath the fuel tank. Yeah, it happens. No idea really what was going on there. As I said, the course, yeah, it was deceptively tight with a few cars running wide in places. The Rebel off to explore the scenery quite a lot. Not quite as bad as on the fourth stage. Didn't roll over. I don't think we had none of the off-road cars I don't think rolled on this stage. But yeah, it was deceptively tricky, I think, is the best way of of describing this course. Again, another route. I quite like this one. Probably not quite as good as, in my opinion anyway, not quite as good as the fourth stage. But yeah, still a very good challenge. The Sand King was very large, as you would imagine. It bounces about quite a lot. I was worried about how this thing would even fit down here. It's yeah, just about gets away with it. And the downside of the Sand King is it's so high. If it hadn't fitted in there, would not have been at all surprised to see this thing here roll. Admittedly, it's got a bit longer wheelbase than the Rebel, but yeah, the Sand King gets across the line. The FQ2 didn't do too badly on this stage. It went for consistency, runs a little bit wide here, however, by not making mistakes, it actually set a half decent competitive time. But yeah, the FQ2 was I wouldn't say a disappointment, but I expected this car to be a little bit faster. It really did struggle with just the straight line speed aspect of things. We look at the stage 6 results, and it did, as I said, the Bodhi that takes the win. And it's considerably quicker than Husky's Bifter, although he did get stuck in a ditch for quite a while. Further back, the Sand King only just held off the FQ2. FQ2 put in a pretty decent time on this stage. The Rebel ran wide on a few corners, and again, it was another car that was struggling a bit for speed well, pretty much overall. Rebel's not known for being the fastest car in a straight line in the Dune loader. Yeah, we've said many a times, not very good handling, not very good brakes, and not particularly fast. So the overall results for the Los Santos Rally in the off-road category, unsurprisingly, it is Husky with the Bifter that takes first place, pretty much unchallenged with the other Bifter retiring, and the Bodie having had such a terrible first stage, losing almost, I think it was 45 seconds or 50 seconds, just being wedged in a storm drain. Bodie did well to recover all of that time to go into second and clear the Sand King by quite a margin. Wasn't really a close finish between them two. The Sand King is in third, pretty much unchallenged following the Kalahari's retirement. The FQ2, by being consistent, moved up into fourth. The Rebel struggled to recover after its rolling on the fourth stage, and the Dune loader just struggled in general because of its lack of speed. We move on to the road car section, and these two were having trouble with some of the corners. We saw the Rebel go off here, and now we have a Sultan's turn. Maybe not quite as spectacular, just a fairly simple spin, although if you did run wide with a car like this on here, there weren't too many bumps sort of on the circuit, like on the actual road if you ran wide, though it was quite rough, and that's why you saw that car spin. This is what I mean about getting it wrong in this very narrow section, and the Sultan goes for a tumble. Yeah, if you got the entrance to that a tiny bit wrong, you are in trouble, because that was the one bit of this course that there's just no room for error on at all. Almost see another roll before it gets across the line. Yeah, that was a pretty sort of tough little section. Chameleon, this is an interesting track. It's sort of a bit of a sort of half and half. Chameleon was very fast, of course, on the road sections. Takes a massive jump and is millimetres away from disaster. That was incredibly close. But again, it might have been a little bit rough for the sports car on this stage. Still set a decent time. There was no major errors for it, but yeah, the sort of the roughness of the terrain probably does not help the Chameleon that much. As I said, the sort of the tightness and the blindness of some of these corners caught some of the cars out. This Sultan got incredibly lucky. That could have very, very easily ended up in the car going sailing off down the hill. Managed to kind of spin it around on the rock at the top and kept it going. Yeah, that was was a bit of a close one. Yeah, it's just these blind corners. They weren't as bad as the ones on the sort of the road section, the Vinewood Hills, but they were, yeah, quite tricky. They did look, like when you watching the replay, some of the corners did look quite a lot easier than they actually were. The Green Sultan was to get probably the most airtime of any vehicle. It's a huge jump, sort of by accident. Maybe, I don't know, that might have just about be the same airtime as the Chameleon, actually. I didn't realise quite how far that jump was for the Chameleon. But yeah, the Sultan had a very, very big jump, spun it around very quickly and well recovered. But yeah, that was a huge jump. We have another Sultan that was yeah, it was being caught out. Again, people just trying to take a little bit too much speed this time. Not quite running as far as the rock there, but yeah, it was a common thing to be doing on this stage. And again, just overshooting and trying to use the handbrake to bring it around. Handbrake wasn't always useful, because that kind of thing could happen if you got it sort of a little bit wrong. What do we got up next? The Exemplar. Yes, this would go on to set the equal time to the, what's-it-called, Bodie. Again, in another very fast run. This track probably suits the coupes quite well. It's not so bumpy that they have too many issues. Of course, in a road car, off-road section, they may well do. However, these have got good acceleration, good straight line speed, and yeah, that certainly does help on a place like this. Also, of course, not making mistakes. That was a very, very important thing on any of these routes, really, if you want to get a good time. You can see it's a little bit bumpy, but it's not really too bad, although you don't want to go off the sort of road. Also, I should point out, the barriers you see around, I actually ran out of prop limit on this stage because there was so many stuff to wall off. The Felon spat an awful lot of fire while going over this jump and was on for a very quick time, having had no problems on the opening section. I've just noticed how much fire is coming out of the back of that car. Jesus. However, it was to be a mistake coming down this section. Got away with the early bit, however, just clipped the inside of the corner a little bit too much, and that's all it needed to send the Felon onto its roof and scraping down the road. Again, could recover it without losing huge amounts of time, but yeah, that was enough to lose him the stage victory. and the shafter was still struggling with very little speed. However, by being consistent, by not making mistakes, it would actually go on to put in a decent time, and that was sort of key to an extent. When you still needed a half decent car to kind of get a good run out of. However, if you don't make mistakes, you're going to do better. Maybe a little bit of caution was needed on some of these runs. And we have the times, the stage 6 results. It is the Exemplar that takes the stage win. Not by much, by under a second from the Sultan, and that was the Sultan that did the mid-air pirouette. That's very impressive to have got that time having spun. The Felon drops down to third, its lowest finishing position for any of these stages after its kind of spectacular roll. Another Sultan, unfortunately I lost my computer wouldn't load the footage for that one. I don't know what was going on with there, so sorry, Black and Orange Sultan, I couldn't show any of that run. Chameleon and another Sultan set identical runs further back. The Shafter got its best result on the final stage as well, and the cars towards the bottom were all sort of sorted by the size of the mistakes that they made, because they were the ones that had a little bit more problem. When we go and look at the overall results, it is actually the same order as the overall results from the previous stage. Nothing changed on this final stage. The Felon may have lost a tiny bit of its lead, but it's still over 25 seconds clear of the second place Sultan, which extended... the second place Sultan got caught fractionally, but it was only by a second from the third place Exemplar, while the Sultan in fourth dropped a little bit further behind. Further back, the order is exactly the same. Gaps have changed a little bit, but there was nothing major going on in the final stage, pretty much, with the Shafter down at the bottom. Not quite as far off, actually, as I thought it might have been at the end of this rally. So there we go, that is it for the Los Santos Rally. It wasn't the Sultan domination that people feared it might have been. Yes, the Sultan did come in second and fourth, but the coupes did fairly well as well in that. That is all. There is going to be a grand finale, if you like, for this, between the top 2 road cars and the top 2 off-road cars. That hasn't been filmed yet because this took far longer than I had hoped it would, or I thought it would. It took a long time to sort all of this out. So the finale shall be filmed sometime next week probably, and it will go out on next Sunday is the plan, hopefully. Who knows? The grand finale race between the cars will be at some point in the future. However, thank you very much for watching this. Try something a bit different with this. It worked pretty well. As I said, incredibly time consuming. If you want to have a go with these stages yourself, I am now going to publish all 6 of the stages onto the Rockstar Social Club, and the links shall be in the description. The Social Club can sometimes be a bit funny. I can sometimes have problems with that, so if the links aren't in there yet, just bear with me. I will try my best to get it working so that you can download these stages, have a go with them yourself, and generally mess about with them. I'm pleased with all of them. They're all pretty good fun stages to drive. That is everything. So until next time, goodbye.